Hello and good morning, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to TP Talks webinar, Path to New Normal, Reimagining Collections. I'm your moderator, Ronnie Tizon, Vice President, Customer Experience and Collections with Teleperformance. I'm joined today by Josh Weiss with Brinks Home Security and Todd Johnson with Snap Finance. Before we get started, let's cover a few housekeeping items. We've made related resources available for you to download through the resources icon to the right of your screen. Also, this webinar is designed to be interactive, so you'll see multiple icons at the bottom of your console. If you have any questions, we would love for you to interact with us. So please submit them in that Q&A window to the right, and you could do this at any time during our conversation. We'll address them during our designated Q&A session toward the end. Also, if you have any technical issues, you can click on that help link. It's the box that looks like a question mark. And then lastly, if you'd like to reach us, use that email icon. First and foremost, what is TP Talks? Well, TP Talks is a series of 30-minute bite-sized webinar segments that are designated to help you as curators of your customer experience. So this is shared best practices, big trends, innovations, and real-world success stories from people just like yourselves. A little bit about Teleperformance, our host for today's webcast. Teleperformance is the agile business services partner that helps companies in the digital transformation process. We manage billions of transactions every year, and we serve as a strategic partner to the world's leading brands by providing customer experience management, back office services, knowledge services, and collection solutions. Through its vast platform, combining it with high tech and high touch with Lean Six Sigma discipline, Teleperformance can help make each interaction simpler, faster, safer, and more cost-effective. We're proud of the awards we win and the recognition we get from industry bodies like the Great Place to Work. We're also proud of the recognition we receive by many of our clients for the ability to help curate their customer experience and their collection solutions. Now onward to our collection discussion and the impact from COVID-19. Let's meet our guest speakers. Josh Weiss is a Senior Manager of Credit and Collections with Brinks Home Security, where he also oversees billing operations. Josh has over 30 years of collection industry experience. Todd Johnson is the Senior Manager of Vendor Management for Snap Finance. Todd is responsible for all first and third-party collection relationships. Todd has over 31 years of industry experience. Gentlemen, welcome, and thank you for joining us today. So to begin the conversation, we can, hey, you got it, Josh. To begin the conversation, we can certainly all agree there are very few places on the planet, if any, that haven't been affected by COVID-19. So let's talk about the impact the overall situation has had on the collection industry. As we know, it has affected our employees, our customers, and our businesses. So Josh, we'll start with you. In what ways has the coronavirus situation impacted the collection side of your business and your consumers?
Well, it really has had a drastic impact on the way we do business. We immediately developed a work-from-home solution for as many employees as we could, not only from a back office standpoint, but a customer-facing standpoint, our customer care team, our collection team, which is Teleperformance is our third-party provider. They assisted us with some very quick movement in order to facilitate really a seamless transition from a brick and mortar environment into a virtual environment. We saw a lot of great results, not only internally, but with our external partners through April and May. March was pretty tough, but let's be realistic. Everybody is a human being that's affected by this. This isn't a small group of individuals that were affected by a natural disaster, an earthquake or a hurricane. This was globally, and the way we really decided to approach this was being very proactive in reaching out to our customers, seeing if they needed assistance. We were doing that both through old-fashioned phone calls all the way up through using digital media, text messaging, emails. We were really targeting first-time delinquent customers, knowing that they may have had the hardest impact, to see what we can do to assist them, to help them through any financial burdens that they were currently going through.
You know what's interesting about that answer is we see some Q&A before, and one of the questions has made the assumption that we stopped outbound dialing, and we didn't, right? I mean, in some states we had to. Todd, what have you seen in that under that heading, and also what did you expect?
Well, very similar to Josh's answer is we in essence were really forced to do the work from home option, something that normally we wouldn't have ever looked into, quite frankly. But fortunately, our partners, as well as Teleperformance in Jamaica, were able to support us as well in that realm. And we were able to do it fairly successfully. As you stated a little bit earlier, Ronnie, we did not stop outbound dialing as a result of this, other than the states where we could not do so. But what we focused on more is creating programs for our customers to deal with hardships, as well as really coaching our agents on the extreme importance of empathy with the customer at this time. I think one of the things that we've learned, or one of the things that were the major impact, was that, to Josh's point, this is unique in that everybody's experiencing this. It's not just a particular part of the country or a particular part of the world. Everyone in this country has been impacted directly by this, either knowing someone who's maybe lost employment or have had their hours cut. And so I think right there's just some built-in empathy and understanding of situations that maybe weren't there before. So that's kind of the biggest thing. And the other surprising thing in my mind is, we had anticipated a serious drop-off in remits and dollars collected, and we have not seen that. I believe a lot of that is due to the payments that the government has provided, as well as, the subsidizing of additional unemployment. And I think the thing that really is interesting is when people are locked down, they don't really have a lot of places to go out and spend their money. And as a result of that, we've actually seen a little bit of an uptick in the amount of money we've been able to collect, not so much in March, but definitely in April and May, we've had some better results than maybe we had seen previously.
I think in March we were all worried about toilet paper and, getting ready for this big pandemic. I mean, I hate to say that, but we saw what happened in the grocery stores. So here's another interesting thing on this note. So I spent some time with our compliance department, because we're such a highly regulated industry, and they were telling me that from the CFPB, complaints are down in general. And you see things like another question that came through was about this bill 3565 that somebody tried to pass in Congress in March about, you can't make contact during a natural disaster. But yet the exact opposite is happening, where we're seeing many of our clients are stating, just in general, their complaints are down. Do any of you have a take on why that might be happening? I think you kind of led to that a minute ago, Todd, but what are your thoughts on the fact that, hey, there are only a few states we couldn't dial out of, or dial into, and also we do inbound work as well, but yet complaints are down overall. Anybody have a thought on that?
Yeah, I can kind of speak to that. I kind of have a theory that it goes back to the fact that we're all experiencing the same thing, right? And as human beings, when we go through tragedies or we go through difficult times, I think we can relate better on an individual level, right? I think sometimes in the collection space, and myself starting out as a young collector, we can be very cynical, right? That people are blowing us off. They're telling us a story. They're trying to avoid things. Well, you can't really avoid COVID because it is impacting folks directly. So My theory is it's allowed us to be a little more, human with one another and more understanding of situations and more willing to maybe work with people than we were in the past, right? To give them longer periods of time to make arrangements, to find unique ways on hardship programs to help them out. So I just think, in my opinion, because we're all going through this, maybe we're a little bit nicer than maybe we were in the past. And to some extent, maybe people want somebody to talk to, right? There are folks out there that might be locked up and pretty lonely. So, that's kind of a really wild guess, but that's kind of my thoughts on the whole thing.
Yeah, that's interesting because one of our clients did say that they were observing calls. There was almost a little bit too much, but I mean, it is something we can all relate to. Too much empathy or too much sympathy. We're all going through this together. As we go into the lessons learned and the strategies deployed, I want to talk about some aha moments. But Josh, I know you mentioned, we've talked about this previously, about some of the strategies you deployed that were really effective with your outreach. Can you talk about that right now?
Yeah, absolutely. We unfortunately had a couple dry runs at this with the hurricanes that went through Puerto Rico, that affected Florida and South Texas. We were able to go ahead and take lessons learned from those tragedies and wrap them up into a new strategy globally for all our customers. And it had to do with what Todd had touched on. It had to do with empathy. In the collections environment, making every right party contact matter is really important. But now it's even more important. It's really getting to know the customer, the consumer, understanding what their ability is, working with them through their current financial troubles. Obviously, do we want to get paid? Yes. Do we want to get paid at the cost of losing a customer? No, it's not as important. And I think the industry as a whole has taken a step back and looked at what's my acquisition cost on a customer versus keeping a customer that I have already, that I can build a deeper relationship with, that I can enhance the relationship that we already have and make it something special. So now we have a customer for life versus a customer for 6 months more, or 3 months more, or 2 months more, whatever it may be. And, maybe we are being kinder to each other. Maybe we are being a little bit more thoughtful. I can tell you when I go out and about and do my daily errands, I can see people being nicer to each other. Almost, bad analogy maybe, but it almost reminds me of what life was like after 9/11, how everybody seemed to rally around each other and be nice. Yes, we have other civil unrest going right now, but I'm thinking generally from a business standpoint, we've learned to be more patient and develop a better relationship and a better understanding for each one of our customers and understanding what their individual plight might be.
And when did you start that? You did that, I think you did it early on. You did an email outreach right in the beginning, right? Tell me a little bit about that.
I touched base on that earlier, but we, set up a series of emails. It was really hey, we're here to help you. And it was really a targeted email, like I said, for first-time delinquent customers. They had never been delinquent with us before, and now all of a sudden that's popping up. So we really wanted to reach out to these individuals and let them know we're here for you. You have options. We can work with you through this. And as a result, we did see some of our best collection months in April.
Yeah, I know that. I know we did that by phone, but I remember you augmented it with email, which is very cool. So let's talk about some aha moments, because I think some of us, as I talk to clients, we're kind of stunned. Everybody, like when we saw the dip in March, and it's across industry as I'm talking to more and more folks, there are some aha moments. And I guess, Todd, we'll throw this off to you. What were your greatest aha moments over the last couple of months?
Well, I think the fact that people's ability to pay actually increased a little bit, right? That was a huge aha moment for us. We were anticipating, just on the acquisition side, right, we were anticipating potentially 80% reduction in originations. We did not see that, right? And we did also, probably the biggest aha moment for me is we did not see an increase in our delinquency rate. In fact, it remained flat, which was very surprising because we were, planning to figure out, okay, how are we going to handle all these customers that are now delinquent? Josh's point about folks that are maybe delinquent for the very first time, we had a lot of conversations around, okay, what, we're going to see more first pay defaults, right? We're going to see more, first time in collections types of situations. And it's just weird that we didn't, and it ties back into, the stimulus payments. It was almost like a second tax season, right, at the end of the day. Right. So, I think that's a situation where, we were preparing for the worst case scenario. It did not materialize initially here. And so the aha moment was, well, okay, that's a good thing than a bad thing. However, I do believe that as we get, as the unemployment benefit runs out, and if we don't see an additional stimulus check to our customers, those preparations for the worst probably will come closer to fruition as we get into July, August, and into the fall.
Very cool.
Yeah, I would agree. I would agree with that. Yeah, I would agree with everything Todd said.
What about the fact that we're all old school collection people? I mean, we might have 100 years experience between the three of us. So that work at home piece, Josh, I mean, wasn't that a huge? I mean, you wouldn't have ever let anybody do that, right? Talk to us about that.
No. Yeah, I am extremely old school. I remember making my first collection call on a rotary phone, a rotary dial phone that tells you how long I've been in the industry doing things. So from my aspect, I've always believed that a collector had to have, or anybody in any environment, any call center environment, needed to have direct supervision. We had the ability to protect our contacts with our customers, with teleperformance taking the lead. And we started off with actually a work from hotel program. We put 20 experienced reps, 2 to a room, with a supervisor in there to help them out through things. And that seemed to go pretty good. And through my open dialogue and our open communication between, my partner Teleperformance in Jamaica, we had a pretty good idea that there was going to be a shutdown, that they were going to really put some limitations on there. And we had a quick business decision to make. Was it more important to stick to the old ways of doing things, or was it more important to make sure we were there for our customers? And as soon as we had that aha moment, if we're not talking to our customers, somebody else is going to. The decision to allow work from home became a no-brainer for us, and it's been very successful. One of the biggest challenges you have in any call center environment, whether it's customer care or sales or collections, is attendance and attrition. Losing employees to new jobs or whatever. Our attendance that we've seen both internally and externally is never been better. People aren't calling out sick, or people aren't calling out because they didn't want to make the hour commute into the office. They're not calling out sick because their child has a little bit of a cold and they want to stay home and take care of them. They can still do their job and take care of their child. So it's allowed for a better work-life balance. The employees are happier. In fact, we had 0 employee turnover, both internally and externally with Teleperformance last month, and that's unheard of in the call center environment. So I think people have realized that it's a better work-life balance for them, and they're putting out the effort and they're doing the jobs, dealing with the frontline employees are dealing with the customers and being successful with it.
Yeah, and I know that a lot of our clients and many of my peers in the industry organizations, we rushed to that exercise to stay open, as nobody planned for a pandemic, right? So we'll get to Todd. We'll get to that thought in a minute that you have about doing it right and going forward. So I know everybody feels that work at home, at least people on the phone and many of the folks I've talked to, it is a solution that we probably wouldn't have considered as much before the pandemic. What I want to do, though, is I want to take a minute to poll the audience on that, because we did spend, I don't know of anybody that didn't rush to do some type of keep in contact with their customers, even on the customer care side or the collection side. So the poll that's on the screen is, as markets emerge from the lockdowns and collection services return to a new normal, will your organization make a quick retreat back to brick and mortar and work from an office environment, or will you adopt the hybrid solution, which will include both, or is work at home here to stay all the way? So while you're answering that, I do want to make a comment about this branch licensing requirement that some states require on the third-party side. What we saw on that segment of our business is that many of the states made waivers for that, and regulators are currently looking at that and going forward. So, and I think that it's not just us and our consumers, it's also our regulators that are seeing, hey, it's a new world, right? And people are playing fair in the sandbox, I guess is something to say. So as I get ready to go to these poll results, hopefully you're answering that question, and then we'll move to the future of collections and the new normal. So let's see okay, so I don't think there's any surprises. I like the 14% that are all the way, but most people are looking for a hybrid solution. And I understand on the brick and mortar side, we might have some banking folks that are a little bit concerned about that as well. Guys, we really appreciate you sharing your experiences. And as we look at the future of collections and the new normal, and we should probably talk about this hybrid approach that they just mentioned, that everybody's agreeing with. But we also look at things like this bubble that everybody's anticipating from the more people I talk to and the articles I read on the internet, a blast in September where we've just pushed these delinquencies off. So Todd, what do you see the future of collections in this new normal?
Yeah, that's the $64 million question, right, Ronnie? I think what we're anticipating is, like most of the folks in the poll, that we'll continue to utilize a hybrid model of having folks in the call center as well as folks that are working from home. And work from home is not for everyone, in my opinion, right? We've had some folks that have begged to come back into the office just because they don't want to be in their home situation. So I think we're going to have to be pretty smart about who we continue to allow to work from home, and ensure that we have the right security in place, because data privacy is going to be paramount. Just with everything that's out there in the world and with what California has done recently, I think, eventually more states are going to pick up on that. And so it's going to be important that for our agents who do work from home, that we ensure that they have the proper security tools and measures in place to protect customer data. I think the other thing that's going to be important as well is we're going to have to utilize, new tools and new forms of self-service for customers. I know us in particular, we're pretty weak when it comes to allowing customers to, create their own payment arrangements or their own long-term payment plans from a chat or from a portal or even a mobile perspective. And I think we're going to have to do that because our resources are going to need to be focused on more of, finding those customers who are having challenges to pay and figuring out ways to help them, right? So we don't lose them over the long term. So those are two of my biggest ahas or concerns going forward, is how do we protect our data for the customer in a work at home environment? And two, how do we create better tools for our customers to self-serve and to, build that technology into our platforms that allow them to, at any time, at any place, at anywhere, be able to, figure out how they want to meet the requirements of paying their bills.
Yeah, that's very, very important. I know better because we're not through this virus, right? Many sites, some of our clients also have in-house. Well, you guys all have in-house people, but we have to consider things like social distancing right now, employee rights with industry groups as we take temperatures and plexiglass between stations. Before we go into some questions, which I'm going to get to shortly, Josh, do you have any comments on the future of the new normal? The future of the new normal,
yeah,
I think on the collection side?
Yeah, I think it absolutely is going to need to be a combination of things. I think you're going to have your work from home, your work from the brick and mortar. I kind of echo Todd's sentiments on some of the privacy issues that we may have. But, probably the old school in me is saying I'm not going to take a newly hired call center rep or collector and put them work from home. I think it's something that you're going to have to earn it, for lack of better terms. But it's headed this direction. We need to be able to reach out digitally to our customers more consistently, give them better avenues to reach us. And I know everybody's anxiously awaiting the CFPB ruling on text messaging and the number of times we can do it and possible phone call limitations. So, I think we're still going to evolve. We got a ways to go. I think this really caught the industry off guard as to how successful we can be working from home. And I just want to see us continue to build on that.
Yeah, it's not the only thing to consider, obviously, as we move forward here. So I'm going to throw out some questions that we've received. And Josh, I know you're intimately familiar with this topic, so I'll give you the first one. So with the increase of collections, but the lack of money for the unemployed, which I think is coming, I know we just talked about April and May, will debt purchase become in the forefront again?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's not only in the forefront again, you need to have a solid strategy for an ongoing debt sales. Does two things. We've seen a better recovery rate from our third-party agencies up front, knowing that they have a limited time frame to collect the accounts. So they're not sitting there waiting for 2 years, 3 years to try and collect on the account. They know they've got a finite time frame to get it before we turn around and sell it. So I would encourage anybody that does not have a debt sales strategy in place right now to develop one as fast as you can. I've got a couple contacts in the industry. You can feel free to reach out to me. I'm on LinkedIn. You can reach out to me on LinkedIn, and I can put you in contact with a very good broker that will walk you through it, especially if you've never done a debt sale. They are very patient and very good. So I would recommend that you develop a strategy and implement it. And if you have one and you haven't been utilizing it, utilize it. It's going to increase your cash flow.
Todd, do you have, one of the first questions that came to us were do you have any changes in KPIs, and do you have any new areas that you're focusing on as you look at your results through this?
Not necessarily any new KPIs, but maybe some more intense focus on specific KPIs, right? One of the things that, we focus on when we're doing our call monitoring is a model of, what experience are you creating with the customer and what solution, right? And I think Josh touched on this very early on, is that it's going to be more vital than ever to maintain customers, right? Because as the economy goes bad, sales tend to go down, right? So customer retention is going to be paramount. And, I don't know that we always think of, okay, well, how does collections help sales, or how does collections help retention? Well, the reality is it has a huge impact on retention, because the experience that customer has with you when they become delinquent or when they have some serious money problems is probably going to drive whether they want to come back or they want to buy more products when they have more money. So we're really focusing on, creating a great collection experience for our customers that we're talking to, ensuring that we're identifying solutions that are beneficial not only for the customer but for the company as well, right? We've got to maintain profitability, but we're really focusing on that component, right? Doing those things and working on those skills that are going to create those great experiences. Huge focus on active listening and empathy. Huge focus on, asking the right questions, right? And asking them in a manner that's not offensive or combative, right? We're kind of taking the approach of, treat every customer like you would your best friend, or, maybe your relative that's down on their luck, right? How would you want to be treated? Kind of ironically, the old golden rule, right? Treat others how you want to be treated, and focusing on those behaviors. And we feel like if we continue to focus on those, eventually the results will follow. So that's kind of the focus we have now on the KPI perspective, is the experience and the solution for the customer.
Wow. Gentlemen, I can't believe we've already talked for 30 minutes. I really appreciate you spending this time with us. I have a list of questions that we didn't get to. We'll send emails out in reference to that. But I just want to leave a reminder for everybody. This webinar, the on-demand version, will be available in 24 hours. The resources are on the right of your screen. Josh and Todd, thank you so much for your valuable insights and your time today. And everybody else, I wish we had more time. Have a great rest of the day and stay safe out there. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.